Jackson from Team Targets. All the best to everybody at iRacing Brazil.
It's Silvestro, and I hope all the iRacers in Brazil are having a lot of fun on iRacing.
Hi, I'm Justin Wilson. Want to say hello to all the iRacers down in Brazil. Hope you have fun, enjoy the racing, take it easy.
Hey, I'm Wyatt Gooden, and iRacing Brazil, awesome league. You guys are great, cool league.
Mandar abraço aí pro pessoal do iRacing Brasil. Continue jogando aí.
Aí galera, eu sou o Hélio Castro Neves, fique ligado no iRacing Brasil. Vamos lá, Brasil!
Vamos lá.
It is the greatest league in all of IndyCar sim racing. It is back for 2013 and it is here on iRacing Brazil. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2013 16th Street Racing League. We are at Homestead Miami Speedway for round number 1, 125 laps around this 1.5 mile racetrack. We'll talk about that in a little bit. First, Aaron, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
So, it's a new season. It's a completely new ball game. Of course, Young-O, dominant in his championship last season, decided that he's only going to run a part-time schedule this year. Therefore, this championship is completely wide open.
Absolutely wide open. Last year it was anything Young-O did, he won. It didn't matter what pit strategy, he was up front. He was a driver to beat. Battles for second, we always talked about that. So that being the case, this championship, you probably count at least a dozen drivers that have a chance to win this championship this season.
16 rounds. We've got 8 of them on road courses. They form the International Light Technologies Road Course Championship. We have 8 ovals. They form up the iRaceforlife.org Oval Championship, and that, of course, includes the Triple Crown of Indianapolis, Pocono, and Fontana. We've got our first qualifying of the season getting set to come underway. There's a couple of drivers who've had to run through the transfer race, and they're looking pretty good right now. Matt Kingsbury, Christopher Demerit, Niall McBride, Brandon Trost. 4 guys in the top 5, in practice at least. Very good times.
Very great times in the top 5, and they've already ran 41 laps this evening. Top 10 drivers in that race that weren't locked into points had to come through that race, so they already have some experience. They're already warmed up, and if anything, they've already had the most, perhaps probably the most intense laps of the season up until maybe Indianapolis, because those transfer races, you wreck, you have a little bit of contact, you are done. So look for those drivers to make a showing here tonight.
We are going to get first lap times up on the board momentarily. A lot of people getting set to go out on their qualifying runs. Now McBride is the first guy up, a 25.191. Matt Lamberton at 26.063. It looks as though Lamberton took a very high line there on his first lap. That will help him in lap 2. Demerit now to the point, 25.162. Kerry Bettenhausen's also done his first lap of qualifying. Demerit's been very fast in that 144 car for Team Velociraptor. And that's one thing that we need to talk about. New teams, strengthening of teams. I mean, we've got Team Velociraptor now. We've got Last Lap Motorsports. We've got people like Banshee Autosport. We've got Broken Arrow in the mix. You've got Aero X. Then, of course, you've got the old guard. Panther Racing's come back. Still got a couple of people from Team Lap Racing about. So, very big spread.
Yes, big spread, and a lot more spread. I think the depth of the fields this year, not to take anything from last season, but we had over 20 drivers in the transfer race tonight. Last year we only had about 12, so a lot more interest in the series it looks like this year, which is just going to make the competition rise a little bit more, and more teams are going to come to the forefront.
So right now it is Matt Lamberton who is on provisional pole position in the number 19 Team Velociraptor car. We've got a couple of people out on track. Nefriarg is working himself onto his second lap. Let's not forget, he won this race last year. And, you know, an emphatic victory there for Nefri, looking to try and do back-to-back wins in the season opener. However, it does look as though that they've just been a little bit off pace, that National Guard team.
Yeah, and if I remember last year, I think it was the same thing. I think he qualified mid-pack to back, and attrition at this race last year was great, and he was able to dodge all the bullets and weave around and made some great passes in the last 10 laps to win that race last year. So I wouldn't take his qualifying time yet as a sign to panic.
No, but there's one guy who we do need to keep an eye on. That is Martin Miller in the number 26 car. He is on his second qualifying lap. If there is anyone who can beat Matt Lamberton, you've got that in Martin Miller. He's working himself down to turn number 3 and 4 in his number 26 Banshee Autosport car. Will he be able to get himself up to provisional pole position? The answer is going to be no.
Ooh.
And 1/1000th of a second ahead of Demerit, but Lamberton still on point. And I think that is him guaranteed. Yeah, that is. That's Lamberton with pole position there.
Awesome time, 25.088. That's going to be a quick time, and wow, we have, looking at these qualifying times, last year's race was close. I think this year's race is shaping up to be even closer, Will.
There are, of course, a couple of people who didn't make this race, and the notable one for me is Ryan Murray, back out of retirement. He was unlucky. He was involved in an incident early on in the transfer race. To sum it up for you guys, 25 people from the top 25 in the championship last year are locked in for the first 4 races. The top 25 are guaranteed entry to the following race. The other 10 drivers, they have to race their way into the field each and every week. Now, for Ryan Murray, of course, established well on both road courses and ovals. Unlucky on the oval side. We're going to come out to a road course next week, and Murray's clearly got to be one of the favourites, along the likes of Joshua Chin there.
Yeah, a former WCS driver, I believe. So look for him on the road courses. Road courses, transfer races, those are going to be a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but you can get away. You're not going to be caught up in somebody else's mess like you are going to be. This is probably going to be the tightest track of the year in terms of racing and traffic. Indy's up there, but this 1.5 mile progressive banking does lead to where you can be on the outside, and if that inside guy just messes up just a tad, you're out of the race due to none of your own doing.
Let's run through then your starting grid for the first round of the 2013 16th Street Racing League. Matt Lamberton qualifying on pole position for Team Velociraptors with a time of 25.088 seconds. Lining up alongside him on row number 1 is Martin Miller in the Banshee Autosport number 26 machine. Christopher Demerit is on the inside of row number 2 in the 144. And then you've got Joshua Chin alongside him in row number 3. Matt Kingsbury, Tim Holgate. Row 4, Brandon Trost and Matt Cook. Row number 5 will be Nefriag, Chris Cahill, Terry Mattinson, Paul Jenkins in row 6. Row 7, John Paulzek, Randy Crosno. Row 8, Niles Anders, Dave Judson. Row number 9 is going to be Joe Branch and Eric Davis. Row 10, Chuck Eisenbath and Dennis Gurries. Rest of the qualifying results coming up on your screen momentarily. Who's going to win this, Aaron?
Wow, who's going to win this? That's a tricky question at this track. I did mention a little incident can cause big time troubles here. Last year we saw many drivers, in fact Young O last year got taken out, none of his own doing, but wow, a race like this, I really like Matt Cook on 1.5 mile tracks. He's starting 8th. You can't count out Nefriag, he won last year, but right now Matt Lambertson on pole, he's looking good himself.
So, very quickly, this track, progressive banking, 18 degrees at the bottom, 20 degrees at the top. And it really does mean that you will see a lot of too wide racing here. The second groove is the best way of getting the car around the racetrack. If you're running too wide, you might actually be stuck on that first groove. However, you've got to be careful, and we saw a lot of cautions in this race last year. It could be very clean, it could be a lot of cautions. We're going to find out over the next 125 laps. But how many cautions do you think there will be, actually?
If we look at last year, anything north of 5 is a safe bet. You are right, though. This race is either going to have a green flag feel to it or not. It's going to be one or the other. And hopefully we see green. And if we do see green, pitting here under green makes it very, very interesting.
You are looking at about 30 to 35 laps on a tank of fuel here. So you're going to expect these guys to have to do 3 pit stops in this race. Cars working themselves down the back straightaway right now behind the iRacing.com first safety car. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2013 16th Street Racing League. Welcome to the iRaceForLife.org Oval Championship. Will Vinson, along with Aaron Likens, Raphael Sank up in the director's booth. The cars working themselves through turn number 3 and 4, getting ready to go racing for 125 laps. Will Lambertson win from the pole? Can Martin Miller go one better and win this race? The green flag's in here. We've got a new season underway, and that was a very slow start there for Martin Miller. Lambertson bolts. Demerit moves up into the second position. Looks as though Miller's going to slot down into 3rd with Joshua Chin in 4th. Holgate rounds out your top 5. Everyone, for the most part, is clean through turn number 1. A little bit of two-wide racing between Chris Cahill and John Paulzek as they battle outside of the top 10 right now. It looks as though that Paulzek's going to get that pass on the inside, and then his teammate Nelson Anders is just going to sweep past as well. But we're all clean for lap number 1, and Brandon Trost is looking down to the inside of the 21 car of Matt Kingsbury.
Looking down to the inside, and as you mentioned, you can go too wide here and get stuck on the bottom. A lot of tracks, the inside's the fastest. Here, though, that progressive banking, you can get a run on the outside, and sometimes you can go for the inside and sort of get pinned down there and get freight trained on the outside, which is unusual for IndyCar tracks. But you were right. Not the best start for Martin Miller. I believe now Joshua Chin has got around him, but that start could have been a lot worse for him. The fact that he's in 4th right now, he's lucky.
He is indeed, and as it stands right now, your top 5, it is Matt Lambertson in 19, leading away from his teammate Christopher Demerit in the 144. Joshua Chin in the 3rd position. Martin Miller in 4th. Tim Holgate, he rounds out your top 5 right now. Everyone is still circulating on the racetrack except for Todd Bettenhausen, who is sat on pit road. I'm not sure if he got some damage to his race car, what happened, but Todd Bettenhausen, looking as though he is going to be the guy at the rear of the field in that number 46 car, so he is out early on in the day. Out front, however, it looks as though that Demerit and Lambertson, they are just trying to work themselves a little bit of space right now from Joshua Chin in that 93 car. Now, the TNT machine of Chin, if he can do well on the ovals, he's got a very good chance for the championship. Let's not forget how good Chin is on the road courses, and he's having a good showing early on the oval side as well.
If Young O would have ran the entire season, I think it might have been a Joshua Chin Young O battle. Chin is so solid on the road courses, just like Young O very rarely makes a misstep. And if right now where he's running third, and right now I think he's going to be content to sit there, really. Front two are running nose to tail, long race, and I don't see anybody in the top 5 really looking antsy at the moment.
They're not. It looks as though for the time being, everyone is just happy to run at Lionel's turn. And having a look through the field, as I say, they are pretty much single file for the most part. I'll tell you what, you have got yourself a 9-car breakaway. Nefriag is at the rear of that train. Terry Mattinson has been dropped. He's about 7 tenths of a second, 8 tenths of a second behind Nefriag right now. And he's starting to lose that draft. Niles Anders is catching up to Mattinson. And then John Porzik is catching them up as well. So we're going to have 2 packs, as we've often seen in 16th Street. And right now, a little bit of 2-wide racing between the number 23 machine of Paul Jenkins and the number 57 car of Chris Cahill. Cahill looking down to the inside through turn number 1 and 2. And this time he was able to make it stick. And that's one of these things as well. Sometimes your car handles better in turn 1 and 2 or 3 and 4. It does look as though that Cahill is struggling through 3 and 4 a little bit. You just saw there, he came up the track a little bit, wasn't able to complete that pass from Jenkins. Jenkins get the better run to the line, but then in 1 and 2, Cahill does look a little bit stronger.
Yeah, yes he does, and one of the things watching this battle that, the cars behind, let's see, who is that got very loose. I was just about to make the point that these drivers may start getting aggressive on the weight jacker, and turn 2 is the tricky spot. You can go a little bit, one click too many, make the car oversteer. Oh, and
we got our first caution of
place,
the day. Yeah, and that was all the way from out front. So Christopher Demerit, who started this race in the 3rd position, is out of the race, and something happened there, and he just looked as though he was trying to go for the race lead, and something happened. He just clipped the back there of Lambertson, spun him around, and then he got tagged from the rear when he was going sideways. Christopher Demerit in the 144 car is out of the race.
That's the dangerous thing when you drive that close to the car in front of you. If you touch that attenuator, touch the gearbox area, that can instantly skid the car out, and will be interesting to see if Josh Chen took any damage in that, because Demerit was sliding, and it was the impact there which then sent Demerit hard into the wall, ending his race.
We've got a split strategy going on, and Lambertson has been left out front all by himself. Everyone else has come onto pit road. Joshua Chin leads away from 2nd position. Martin Miller in 3rd, and Holgate in 4th. They're all coming down into their pit box. We'll get to see who wins the race off of pit road. And this is going to be catastrophic for Lambertson. If 7-8 guys stay out with you, you're fine. Right now, everyone else has got 10 laps fuel more than Lambertson, as they all come out, and it does look as though Chin is going to get that one. I think Holgate might just... No, Miller was able to just get out ahead of Holgate. So it was then Miller, then Holgate, then Cook, then Trost. But for Lambertson, this is catastrophic.
Oh, catastrophic. And we have seen races before. If the yellows fall correctly, it might not be that bad. But you're right. That split strategy can work if you get 8 or 9 guys that have the same mindset as you. But when you are the only one, you sort of get stuck on an island of your own, and it's very hard to get off of that.
So working ourselves under our first caution of the day here in the 16th Street Racing League. The Oval Championship, of course, is brought to you by iRaceForLife.org. Now let's talk on the caution very quickly about iRace for Life. It's a great cause, really, Aaron, where if you win a race, you give some money to charity. Simple for that.
Yep, and that really brings home that this is more than just racing. Being able to reach out to certain charities really it just adds an incentive, and it raises awareness for various charities out there. So that's a great thing that's come on board this season.
So then, working ourselves behind the iRacing Surf's first safety car, and Matt Lambertson, of course, is scored as your race leader. Joshua Chin, 2nd. Martin Miller, 3rd. Tim Holgate, 4th. Matt Cook, 5th. Brandon Trost in 6th. Matt Kingsbury, 7th. Terry Mattinson, 8th. John Paulzek, 9th. And Nefriag. They are your top 10. The implications for Lambertson not pitting, they could be minimal. However, let's not forget, if we get a caution in 10 lap time and everyone comes onto pit road again, then Lambertson's going to have to take, 2 seconds worth of fuel more than all the other guys? On a caution pit stop, that's worth about 3 positions.
Worth about third positions, and that's why he needs the yellows to fall correctly to minimize the damage. If the damage is minimized, he's going to be okay. And I hate to say that's one of the disadvantages of being the leader, but you see that so often in real world racing, where if you're the leader and you pit, everybody stays out. If you stay out, everybody pits in, and that's what befell him this time. But one other thing, that was the rest of the field very lucky that was just a one-car incident. Last year we had many incidents up front which took out 5, 6, 7 cars. The fact that everybody got around the spinning car of Christopher Demerit was rather impressive, if you ask me.
Impressive indeed. And I think right now Joshua Chin might start putting the pressure on Lambertson, knowing that his teammate is now out of the picture.
Oh, absolutely. And knowing, well, he may put the pressure on. If I were running second, it would really depend on me. It would really depend on how much pressure I have behind myself. You know, he's going to have to pit 10 laps sooner than you are. He is going to be lighter on fuel, and it is never too early it's never too early saying, thinking the fuel mileage game. How can you save a little bit of fuel? Lambertson's going to be a little bit lighter, so if they can get a 2-car breakaway, he can stay in that tow and just save just that little bit of fuel, which might save that 0.2 of a second come that final stop.
Also, Lambertson's on old tyres. This could be interesting from pole from the restart.
That's one factor I forgot. This track can be rather tricky depending on where you pick it up on spinning the tires, which the last thing you want to do when you're the leader is spin in front of the field.
Single file restarts. You see all the guys kind of running up high. To give you an update on retirees, Todd Bettenhausen is scored 9 laps down, but is running Christopher Demerit, the only other guy out of the races. The green flag is back in hand. Good start for Lambertson. Chin second. Now you see Tim Holgate down to the inside of Martin Miller in the battle for third position. Holgate looks strong once again. Let's not forget, he came second in the championship last year.
Yeah, Holgate, if I remember correctly, he had a couple races that just minor missteps maybe cost him a chance. He often was running up front, challenging Young O on the oval. So he's another driver not to discount.
Behind them, it does look as though everyone's kind of back into that single file mode. But again, we've got the 2 packs, and John Porzic right now, who's running in the 8th position, he has lost the front of that first pack in a big way. The gap is already 2 seconds between Kingsbury in 7th, and Porzic as Nefiar is going down to his inside in the battle for 8th position. Arg wants to lead that second group.
That's sort of the nature of single file restarts. You can really get an accordion effect that really can separate the field, which if you are in that second pack, you may think, why are they going to race so hard? Come the next restart, they aren't going to want to be in that second pack, so you can see some desperation racing back there in that second pack. It may not seem like it makes any sense, but they really want to get to the front of that pack, so next restart, they're not stuck in that back second pack.
Randy Crosno, Dave Judson, they are battling for 13th and 14th positions on the racetrack right now. And this is a perfect example of why you get 2-wide racing, as you got 2-wide racing ahead of them as well. And the car on the inside just cannot always hold that line. And that's, see there, Judson able to pass on the outside of Randy Crosno as he just scrapes the wall a bit there, actually.
Yeah, I think he thought Crosno might have come up just a little bit, so he gave just a little bit extra room, which at this point in the race, that's a very, we're going to see that quite a lot later in the race, might not give as much room, but kind of surprised to see Judson, as he gets loose and they're going to touch, and there around goes Crosno.
They're both going to touch. Well, they're going to survive it, though. The issue is, Crosno just scrapes the wall. He might be able to keep going. Judson's got the most of that impact, though, and that 83 car is going to be out of the race.
And I don't know if race control has thrown a yellow.
We stay green. We're staying green for the time being. And Judson is out.
Well, that's unfortunate. I was not the way he wanted to start his season. I was thinking he was going to have a strong showing, but that's why I said that exit of turn 2. You can just get maybe a little too aggressive on the weight checker. Car likes to step out right there, and that, unfortunately, was Dave Judson's undoing tonight.
Yeah, and that's a real shame for Judson, because, of course, last season was his breakout season, really, in IndyCar, but now, I mean, and it's one of those things as well that you really, really have to have the close racing, and, I mean, I've seen Judson get loose already in this race, and he just got loose a little bit there, in the center of 1 and 2. car slides down to the inside. Of course, naturally, you come down the racetrack, and he just clipped Randy Krosno. Of course, Krosno is out of the race as well, so he's going to be disappointed. So, a couple of casualties now in this race, and it does look as though Kevin Lee has gone down a lap in the number 32 car, so he is going to be classified way down the field for the time being. However, Lambertson still leading the way, Chin right behind him, and Kevin Lee is going to go down another lap in probably the next 3 or 4 laps, I think.
Kevin, he pitted coming to the green, so I wonder if maybe he had a pit violation, which might be what the problem was. So Lambertson's going to have to deal with him now, I'm sure. Won't be that much of an issue, but as I mentioned before the restart, Josh Chin, I think he's going to be perfectly content to stay right under the rear wing and conserve fuel.
The battle behind you have got a 2-car breakaway, however. This is interesting as Lee has to stay up high, and this is going to give Chin a possibility. He does. Oh, Lee into the wall a little bit there. And again, this is going to be difficult. They might have to throw the caution for this. He is well off pace now. He's got to try and get it down to pit road, but it looks as though that Lee is going to have to pull that car off the racetrack. Meanwhile, that is really close to gap out front. I would say you got yourself a 2-car breakaway with Lambertson and Chin. Now, Holgate and Miller right back in the picture.
Right back in the picture, and I'm still taking a look at Kevin Lee, who's now in the grass down the back straight away. I think he's going to keep it down there, so we should be able to stay green. Close call up front.
So,
Cook to the inside of Trust.
Those two have been battling all race long. Cook and Brandon Trost. Trost falls back into the 6th position for the time being, as Matt Cook goes up 1 position. And, of course, Kingsbury's right there in that picture as well. But, again, that front pack, it's kind of separated a little bit, and now it's back together. But that's one interesting to keep an eye on. I'm going to have a look down the field a little bit, because you still have got 27 cars running in this race. And you've got a great battle in the mid-pack right now. People like Dennis Garice and Neil McBride, they've been running side by side pretty much since the drop of this green flag.
Since the start, side by side, and sometimes you can get 2 drivers that no matter what the strategies are, you're just going to be side by side the entire race. And at the end of the race, when I know when I've had battles like that's just such a good feeling when you've had an entire race, fought hard, and you can say you beat that person by an inch at the line. That's always a good time. Also, another driver to watch, Nefri Ogg, he really has started to inch away from, I guess, what we would call the true second pack. They've sort of broken up in the top 7. But Nefri Ogg has pulled out just a little bit. Now Niall Sanders is starting to reel him in just a little bit. But I think Nefri Ogg's car, if the yellows fall right and he can get himself up there, I think he's going to be a factor for this win by the end.
I think so, and of course, it is a long race. We have still got a little under 100 laps to go in this race. It is a very long race, a lot of pit stops here as well. And pitting at Homestead under green is incredibly difficult. I always say it's probably one of the 3 most difficult tracks to pit on in an IndyCar.
You can always practice it in practice, but there's one thing about practicing pit stops in practice and in race conditions. You've got to use that flat access road. It is completely flat. These setups are made for the banking. You come in just a little bit too hot, you hit the grass, you're immediately going to be thrown up onto the banking, and you have to hope cars behind you are going to be able to avoid you. That's going to then be a black flag, and essentially your race is ruined. You're right, so much time can be made. At some tracks, we're talking half a second. You can make up full seconds here if you can nail that entry. And right now, a few seconds, if Nefri Ogg were to have a completely perfect pit stop, he's up there in the top pack.
And you've got Brandon Trost, I'm still thinking about, he's still battling with Matt Cook as well, but those 2 drivers have kind of dropped off the front couple of drivers now as we're working ourselves on lap number 31 in this race. I want to talk more, however, about that Nefri Ogg Niles Anders thing, because Niles has caught Nefri.
Yes, he has, and along with it, 4 other drivers. That would be John Porzak, Terry Mattinson, Paul Jenkins, Chris Cahill. So what I thought Niall Sanders was going to, Nefri Ogg was going to inch away, but that's not the case. And now the interesting thing is, I did say when you get that second pack, you can see some desperation racing. At this juncture, though, green flag feel, Are they going to be content to stay in line, or are they going to mix it up to see who can be the leader of this pack?
It does look as though that they're content to stay. Of course, you've got, leading that group, you've got 2 Panther Racing drivers in there for Alexander. Then behind them, you've got 2 Banshee Autosport drivers with John Paul's Terry Matinson, and an AOX driver with Paul Jenkins, and then you've got another Panther driver with Chris Cahill in the 13th position. Now, they are pulling away from Eric Davis, Courtney Terrell, Dennis Carice, etc. However, the important thing is, are they making any inroads on this group out front? And the answer, quite simply right now, is no, they're not. They're losing about half a tenth of a second a lap.
Half a tenth, and that just shows you the strength of Chin and Lambertson. But remember, Lambertson is lighter. He's lighter by 10 fuel laps, so for Josh Chin, that's a real good thing. And just looking on the scanner, Matt Lambertson's going to be pitting this time, so here comes the real tricky part of the race for Lambertson. Almost a road course on an oval right now.
So here we come. He's being very conservative, actually. That's a very conservative entry for your first pit stop. We'll keep an eye out on him. Of course, the last thing you'd want to see is a caution come out right now. Breaking it down, 45 miles an hour. Yeah, he's going to hit that with pretty much ease.
Oh, it went down to 32 miles an hour, so I think he thought he might have come in a little bit fast, because if you hit the cones a little bit fast and you can lower the average speed, a lot of times you can't avoid that black flag.
And
the new leader.
Yeah, Joshua Chin is now scored as your leader. Tim Holgate a little bit behind him. Now, the issue for Lamberton is he's got to be careful where he comes back out onto the racetrack. He's into his pit box, and he's going to get himself 13.4 gallons worth of fuel, 4 fresh tyres as well, and he will be out and away. Now, of course, he has scored well down. He's going to be scored a lap down in this race. The important thing is, if he can come out in a little bit of traffic, you know, some people to draft with, then that would minimise the blow. But he's just lost the pack that are ahead of him. That's the P20 lot back. Now, he's not really got anyone, just Tim Miller. He's going to be ahead of him. Lamberton's got no one to draft with.
He's on a deserted island by himself now. Really, he's going to have to hope the green flag cycles here. If the yellow flag comes out now, he's going to have to take the wave around. He's going to be starting in the back. His race is, I don't want to say over, but it'd be very difficult to come back up. Now, though, he's heavier. He has no drafting partner. He might be, we'll see. We'll have about 11, 10 laps, the rest of the field pitting, but I don't see any way, really, he's going to come out in the top 5, top 6.
And something's happened because Matt Cook really has fallen from the rear of Martin Miller right now. And that gap is up to 1.8 seconds on the racetrack. So your top 3, Joshua Chin from Tim Holgate from Martin Miller. Still a lot of guys in this race, however, with 40 laps scored complete. Our only retirees have been Kevin Lee, Randy Cosmo, Dave Judson, and Christopher Demerit. And Todd Bettenhausen is back on pit road. However, you think about this, we've got a huge field here, still only one caution to complete the first 40 laps of this race.
A much more green flag than last year, that's for sure. At this point in time last season, I think we were counting hours, slight exaggeration there, but last year, really rocky start. But so far, lot more give and take than there was last year. And as we were talking about Lambertson as he was rejoining, I was looking through the field, and there is some good racing. We've only been talking about the top 10, but back in the mid-pack, Mark Shute, Brian Simpson, and Al Nagy running 20th. Give a shout out to them. They were going 3 wide, so great racing all throughout the field. We've just been talking about up front, but a lot of good drivers in the back having a great spirited battle with each other.
So 42 laps now going to be scored complete in this race. Ladies and gentlemen, you are of course watching the first round of the 2013 16th Street Racing League from Homestead, Miami Speedway on iRacing Brazil. Joshua Chin still leads the way. The story of the day really has been Matt Lamberton qualified out front. He led that first stint. His teammate in the 144 car, Christopher Demerit, spun after just tagging the rear of Lamberton's car. That ended his race. And then under that first pit stop sequence, everyone came onto pit road except for your race leader, Matt Lamberton. He has just pitted and he's now scored all the way down in the 28th position on the racetrack. The last guy who is currently turning laps. Out front, however, you've got in that 3-car battle, Chin, Holgate and Miller, they're not really doing much right now. So we're going to kind of look a little bit further back through the field. We had another couple of cars coming onto pit road, and that is Niles Anders and John Paulzek. They are both coming in, and it looks like this is going to be the time that everyone comes in, and Paulzek gets a good run. The issue is, of course, for Paulzek, if Niles Anders' pit is before Paulzek's, sorry, after Paulzek's, then Paulzek's really going to struggle here. And no, I think they'll be lucky there, but pit road becoming a very, very busy place.
Very busy place. We got a spin in the pits. I think that was one of the...
We've got one spinner on pit road. That's Kevin Kress. He's managed to sort it out, but pit road is seriously busy place. And Paulzek is going to get the jump on Niles Anders. 45 miles an hour is the pit road speed here. And they are back out onto the racetrack as Niles Anders spins it. This will bring out the caution. Potentially, there's no one around him. The issue for Niles is, of course, he will get himself a black flag, and he's got to try and find a way of getting that car back pointed around in the right direction. But we talked about pit entry being difficult. It's the same of pit exit as well.
Absolutely, and that's one thing we did not mention. And that flag, getting onto the gases, and what happened to Josh Chin? I think Tim Holgate has let us out. Did he get a black flag?
I don't know, but there is Josh Chin has just come into pit road and out of pit road, so your race leaders have pitted, and we will get this field settled down for you in just a moment. Terry Tinson bringing his car onto pit road, and this is a part of the race where everyone's back. We've got a caution.
We got a caution.
We've got a big potential crash down. It carries on going.
3 cars.
Mark Shute just runs into the back there of Joe Brandt. It was Dennis Garise in the 16 car who started that incident. Just having a look at the replay, and that was crazy. Eric Davis came in with a huge head of steam. He gets I think he was thinking he's going to go to the outside line. Jim LaCour moves down into the outside. Davis comes down to the inside. That causes the first impact. Both Davis and Garise hit the wall. But then, as the field slowed down, Joe Branch just got rear-ended there by Mark Shute.
You gotta feel bad for Eric Davis. You're not expecting cars coming out of the pits to go side by side. He's doing 213 miles an hour. Those cars are doing 150, 160. That's just, man, that's unfortunate.
So let's settle. We've just had a car spin. That was Eric Davis. He's trying to bring his car back to pit road. So Holgate is classified right now as your leader, but they're spinning their cars ahead of the leader. Something else has happened from Niles Anders just a moment ago, and it looks as though he has just looped his car. Yeah, he just touched the rear of Dave Jinks there. And Anders has just spun his car. Yeah, this is under yellow. So not a happy return by the looks of it for Niles Anders in that 99 car.
And that front wing is damaged, so he'll be bringing his car to pit lane. Trying to see if the left side pod looks good. And no, he's not going to pit. I guess maybe the pits are closed at this point. So, wow, this race went from being really calm to us having 10 different things happen at once. We don't know what happened to... I think Josh Chin did get a penalty. He's now in 18th. I think he was speeding... So the only thing I know right now is Tim Holgate's our race leader.
Tim Holgate is scored as our race leader. In second place is Matt Cook, by the look of things. Third is technically Terry Mattinson, then Matt Lamberton. But the field are all waiting for the pace car right now. Pace car is working itself through what turn? 3 and 4 by the looks of it. And something's happened to Josh Chin, you are right.
I think it was speeding. Yeah, he came in first and he did not get off, so I do think it was speeding for, I'll go back and take a look at his entry, but I'm gonna say it was a speeding penalty.
So, we will settle things down in just one moment. We are waiting for the field to be caught up to the pace car. That all to be sorted out. A couple of guys are getting themselves back onto the lead lap, getting themselves away, but also a couple of guys have been able to sneak onto pit road and top off some fuel as well.
Josh Chin at the cones was doing 57 miles an hour, so that's going to be...
That's a penalty right there.
Yep, and he is behind the pace car, so he will be given the wave around once we get the green, I believe.
But he will start from the end of the line, so he's going to be classified outside the top 20. So let's not think from leading this race, all of a sudden he is all of a sudden out of the top 20. And of course, when you have sequences of pit stops like we have, people have to make green flag pit stops and an instant straight after that, it really does shake the field up. One guy who's kind of back in contention is that number 19 car of Matt Lambertson.
Very fortunate there. And let's see, even if he does pit or doesn't pit, it's gonna, man, so much has happened. If if you're a Lambertson, you can't take a pit right here, or that's a really tricky thing, because he'd be what, almost a third of the way through his fuel.
Yeah, he'll be in a kind of the same position that he was when that first caution came out. So in reality, he would have to stay out now and hope there's a caution in the next 5-10 laps to force everyone down on pit road. That would minimize the bleeding. As it is right now, if he pitted, if he only wanted to pit, he'd go to the rear of the field. If he stays green the rest of the way, he might not have enough fuel, he'll go to the rear of the field. The only thing he can do right now is stay out and hope there's a caution the next 10 laps or so.
Yep, as we are 1 to green. The unfortunate thing for Joshua Chen being stuck behind the pace car, if he was in the back, he would have been able to duck down pit road and top off. That may not sound like much, but a half gallon now could be the difference between, his position. I would have really loved to have been able to top off, but unfortunate for him that he was unable to do so.
So, your top 10 as it stands: Tim Holgate, your race leader; Terry Mattinson in second; Matt Cook in third; Matt Lambertson in fourth; Matt Kingsbury in fifth; Brandon Trost in sixth; Nefri Arg 7th; John Portick 8th; Paul Jenkins 9th; and Chris Cahoe rounds out your top 10. We learned this from the first restart. You need to have everything going your way. You need to have a little bit of heads up driving on these restarts, otherwise you're going to fall back in a hurry, Aaron.
Yes, we are. We're going to see if we get that same accordion effect this time. Will we have just 5-6 cars up front, or will we have a more pack? That's what we're used to seeing here, a big pack, but here we go. Let's see what type of start Holgate gets.
So, pace car is going to make its journey onto pit road, and the green flag is back in hand. It's a good start there by your top 4 or 5 cars. But you've got Brandon Trost. He's going to look down to the inside of the 21 car of Matt Kingsbury as they come down into turn 1. It looks like Trost is going to get himself into the top 5.
Going to get himself into the top 5, and with him comes Nefri Ogg, silently picking himself up through the field, and Nefri's going to look to the inside and 3 on Brandon, and that was aggressive, but he's there.
He's going to be side by side as they work out of turn number 4. Brandon Trost is going to perhaps just about get clear. He won't as they come down into turn number 1. Look out, Trost.
Oh, and that shows you the inside typically is the fastest. Now Nefri trying to make that pass. It looks like he's going to maintain 6th. If Kingsbury wanted it, he may have been able to make a pass there, but he didn't really make the challenge.
You've got Chuck Eisenberg bringing his car into pit road. Looks like he got himself a black flag penalty. Is being forced to serve that right now. Niles Anders is scored as the last car on the lead lap now. He is running in the 20th position on the racetrack. And we still, again, a lot of separation. But that mid-pack does look a lot more entertaining than it did earlier on in this race. We've got some good names. Porzick, Jenkins, Terrell, Cahoe, Simpson, Miller. Martin Miller's had a bit of a bad run. He's qualified 2nd, now in 13th.
Not the way he wanted to start his season, which, we're on 13th now. A lot's going to happen between now and the end. Last year, this race, middle part, we had this nice calm period. Last 30 laps, though, really picked up. And you're right, a lot of high-caliber names running in that second pack, and right now they have been content to stay nose to tail. As we get closer to the end, though, well, that's going to go out the window. And I do think Tim Holgate, take a look at the lead Holgate's has. His car, I think that's the biggest lead we've seen a leader have today, and Terry Mattinson really isn't reeling him in, although it does look like he is running a slightly defensive line on Matt Cook, which one thing about Matt Cook real quick, he is a real closer. He's a person that will stay in the top 5, and last 20 laps, he really can make passes that at the end you go, wow, how did he just do that? But right now he's under fire from Lambertson.
Yeah, he is. And Holgate, that gap, it came down just a tiny bit like last time by as he come past the stripe once again. The gap, it's static. It grew by 7/1000ths or a second that last time by. Cook in the third position, Lamberton in fourth, Brandon Trost. Trost has fallen from the rear of that group. He has stayed ahead on Lafayette for the time being. I wonder whether or not Trost will be able to catch up to the Lamberton. Last time by, he was half a tenth faster. He's just about 2 tenths outside the draft range, however. As they come past the stripe once again, let's see what his lap time is compared to Lamberton. Again, it's faster, so Trost should be able to pull back Nefriark and Matt Kingsbury and John Portek and Courtney Terrell and Paul Jenkins into that pack.
And the list just keeps growing. If that's the case, we will have a 9-car battle up front as they reel them in. But really, how strong is Tim Holgate? This type of track, typically you do not see a leader be able to hold the lead like this. So how strong is he?
I don't know, that car does look very, very, very strong right now. And last time by, Matinson was just 5/1000ths of a second faster than Tim Holgate. So that 6 car, if he can be this good on the ovals this season, another driver along the likes of Chin and Ryan Murray, who arguably are the most all-rounded drivers in this series.
Yep, and you did mention Ryan Murray, unfortunately didn't make this race. And Josh Chin, his season started off not the way he, well, at the moment running 15th. Long race, we know how strong his car is, but right now he is seated 6.4 seconds behind the leader, so he's going to need a little help to get back up front. Wow, we're almost halfway in a very active race so far.
It has been a very active race indeed. That battle that I was telling you about, to have that one pack, when I'm having a look at it right now, and Brandon Trost has closed that gap down even more, just down to half a second right now. So Brandon Trost, I have to say, I've been really impressed by Trost driving in this race, and he's been able to get out of any close calls that he's been in. Doing a good job right there in that 007 car.
Oh, absolutely. Keeping his nose clean, and so far showing that he's got the skill to be up here. So impressive showing so far, running 5th and some distance to go. He is also a driver at the end of the race, can make some moves that you go, wow, how did he just do that? So watch for him later stages, as now we have side-by-side behind him for the 6th position. Porzak to the inside of Nefriad.
That's Kingsbury down to the inside of ours. Yeah, and Kingsbury completes that pass. The issue is, however, is now Kingsbury's 0.7 of a second back from Brandon Trost. So making that pass when he did might have cost Kingsbury the chance to pull up to that pack.
Yeah, that's one of those tricky times. You might know your car is faster, but if you do make that pass, you lose that 1/10, or even sometimes less than a tenth. Losing that much can get you out of touch with the leaders, and then it just becomes a long, slow bleeding process of time. Looks like he might be okay though. Let's see what the gap is this time.
They'll work themselves out of turn number 4. There will be 65 laps put in the books, and last time by it was 1:75 for Kingsbury, 1:43 for Trost. Trost is marginally faster in this stage of the race.
And Kingsbury caught up a full 10th, so that pass didn't really hurt him. They went from about 1.38 to 1.22, so Kingsbury and company are coming in a hurry.
And Trost actually got a little bit high in turn 3 and 4 there as well. A little bit behind those guys, Courtney Tell and John Porzek, they've been battling a little bit, and let's not forget, Tell had a great season last time by, as he's going to look down to the inside of John Porzek in the number 27 car. He is going to complete that pass out of turn 3. Now, if you can slide it down, then you can actually slide back up and you'll be clear. Looks like that Terrell wasn't able to get the pass line in the first part of the corner, so Porzek will stay alongside him to come back down into turn number 1.
Terrell had a terrific run in the Indy 400 last year. And he's a driver, we normally won't say his name till about halfway. Usually qualifying, gonna be mid-pack or further back, but slowly as the race progresses, he just works his way up, and now he's running 8th and on the move forward.
So we'll run through your field. Out front, it is Tim Holgate. In second, it is Terry Matinson. Third, Matt Cook. Fourth, Lamberton. Fifth, Trost. Sixth is Matt Kingsbury. Then Neffi Arg 7th. Terrell in 8th. John Porzek 9th. Paul Jenkins rounds out your top 10. You've still got 20 cars scored on the lead lap, but Niles Anders, after that incident under caution, he scored way down the field and he's struggling right now, running about a full 8 tenths of a second slower than what he was doing before he had that incident.
Yeah, when things go wrong in racing, it started with him spinning out of pit lane, and then the misfortunes just continued. So unfortunate there, but still on the lead lap, but that's not going to be for long, as the leaders now are about 3 seconds from him. And Matt Lambertson will be pitting in this time by from P4.
Yep, so let's keep an eye out on Lambertson, and he will be the first to pit once again. Let's not forget, the other guys were about 8 laps behind him in sequence. So again, Lambertson comes in. He's got very good entry speed up until this point. This is the critical part. You come out, then you've got to try and brake while turning, and down to 45. Again, better in that time.
Yeah, much better. He didn't drop into about 32 miles an hour, so much better this time. Now, though, he needs a little bit of luck. When he comes out, he's either going to need to hopefully fall in line and have a drafting partner. If he gets on an island of his own, he's going to be a couple tenths slower than everyone else. And last time he got fortunate with that yellow happening right in the middle of the cycle, so the damage was minimized. But now he's going to lose 3-4 tenths of a second every lap for about 8 to 9 laps.
I tell you what, he's in lap that time was actually 10 slower than it was in his first stop, so he's more conservative by the look of it in that first phase of the entry.
And he's clean back out onto the racetrack. So now we'll just have to play the waiting game to see where he falls in line.
So, Niles Anders has now been lapped. Holgate still leads the way, but Cook all over the rear right now of Terry Tinson. Trost and Kingsbury have both caught back up. It is now Nefriarg who's struggling to keep their job. He's about 0.4 of a second on the racetrack right now. He's trying to close up, and he's bringing Courtney Taylor with him. Porzik's having a slow race here, and that's surprising for a guy who does love this racetrack.
He does love this place. Usually runs up front. Last year, I believe, if my memory serves me right, he might have led a few laps. I think he was caught up in one of the numerous incidents. But yeah, you're right, Will. Typically up here, he is running up front, but running 8th, just outside the lead draft. He might have a whiff of it. Still 50 laps to go, so he likes this place. Don't count him out yet.
And ahead of them, I mean, Nefri, again, like he did last season, starting to reel it into the second half of this race.
It's almost a carbon copy. It feels like just like last year. This is exactly what he did last year. First half of the race, running 10th, 11th, 12th, and slowly, one by one by one. And he really also here doesn't put his car, the passes I've seen him do, he doesn't put his car at risk. And at this track, it's very easy to dive to the inside and drift up just a little bit, make contact, race over. But he's been very clean so far, and Courtney Terrell looks like he's going to go to the inside. Maybe no.
One couple of drivers I am a little bit surprised about. Martin Miller in that 10th position. Of course, he had that incident early on in this race. But then you've also got Chris Cahill and Brian Simpson. I expected a little bit more from those guys in this race, and they are running outside the top 10. Of course, still pretty good showings, but it does seem to be they've been unlucky on these restarts so far.
Oh, these restarts, these single file restarts, that's what makes qualifying so important. You got to stay up front. If you're not inside the top 8, 9, you can lose the lead. One thing, Joshua Chin, remember he was our race leader early on and got black flagged on pit entry. He has actually caught the leaders by half a second. About 3 laps into the run, he was 6.5 seconds down. Now he is 6 seconds, so I think he might be one of our fastest cars on the racetrack, and he is doing it without drafting help. So if things fall right and he can nail his pit entry, he may be able to get back up front by this race ending.
Second round of pit stop starting. Matt Kingsbury and Porzik is already in.
Kingsbury cleaning, a little bit wiggly there on the pit access road. Now the hard part, getting to 45 miles an hour. Very conservative there, but you don't want to get your race ruined by a black flag.
You don't, but at the same time, as you come down to the next pit stop, which will be your last, you're going to want to push that envelope perhaps a little bit more.
Yep, and Holgate coming in, our race leader.
So from the race lead, we've got a number of guys in actually. We've got
Terrell.
Simpson in, Miller in, Jenkins in, Nefriarch is in, Courtney Tell is in, and Tim Holgate. So about 5 cars peeling in all at once there.
And Holgate, this is going to be close at the cones. He was doing, he was 55 miles an hour at the cones.
We'll keep an eye out on him, of course. The pit stop normally takes about 7 seconds. So you'll see if tyres will go up, he undershoots there. Down, and will they hold him? And the answer is going to be no, but he was lucky there.
Yeah, and Courtney Terrell might be alongside to beat him out, so good stop by Terrell. He's going to let Holgate go, but great stop by Terrell.
Incredibly good stop there by Courtney Terrell, and he is able to jump up a number of positions. Now let's not forget, Terrell, I mean, his best race of the year was also his worst, of course, at Indianapolis.
Yes.
He's so unlucky there in the dying laps, but he's really looking as though he's bounced back in the 2014 campaign.
Yes, last season he was leading at Indy, and late things just didn't go well for him. And John Porzak now alongside Tim Holgate, so great stop by Porzak. He's now in the mix.
And the best pit stop we actually had was Paul Jenkins on that last run. So our co-commentator from last season, he's running in a lot of the oval races, and he had the best pit-in lap there, a 40.011. One of the best pit-in laps I've actually seen in a very long time there before.
Very, very good stop there. And right now it looks, if we have cycled through, that Terry Mattinson will be our race leader.
Yeah, we've got a couple of cars still to make their stop. Chuck Eisenberg is bringing his car onto pit road right now. Nefriarch looking down to the inside of Courtney Tell, and he will complete that pass. Now Nefri's up into the top 5, and it has really changed quite a lot. Lamberton's fallen down into 8th. A lot of that was because of the fact he didn't have any draft there at all. Kingsbury, his pit stop was so slow that he fell almost to the end of the top 10. So you talk about, being conservative to not get a black flag. For Kingsbury, he was just too conservative there.
The risk-reward ratio, you can risk it, and you want to be right on that racer's edge. You want to come in, hit 45 right at that cone, or hit 55 and slow down just in time to not trigger that first timing loop. Another driver that didn't get the pit stop they wanted, I talked about Josh Chin before the stops. He was 6 seconds behind. He is now 7.9 seconds behind, running 12th, so he's going to need a little bit of help to get up front.
Indeed.
With less than 40 laps to go now.
So 1 pit stop left for all of these drivers. Lambertson, I think, is still in that 1 pit stop window. So if there's a caution that comes out in the next 5 laps or so, that's when you get that interesting fuel mileage race kick in. But out front, you have to say that there has been a couple of guys who's really come to the fold here. Mattinson has had a great run in this race, but Brandon Trost is about to go down a lap.
And this is an interesting factor. We have to assume it was a black flag penalty, but that is very, very good news for our race leader. He now has a drafting partner. He's been able to pull away from Matt Cook. This has been the biggest lead of the race. The lead is now 1.2 seconds, and part of that is because Terry's been able to reel in Brandon, and he's been drafting him up. So, wow, one driver's misfortune with Trost is could be Terry Mattinson's winning move.
Yeah, and that gap now up to 1.4 seconds on the racetrack between Terry Mattinson in the 8 car and Matt Cook in the number 66 machine. Of course, you've got Tim Holgate in that 3rd position right behind Matt Cook. And Porzak is just about there. He might just be about to sniff the graph with Tim Holgate. And it looks as though that Holgate's looking to the outside there of Matt Cook. So maybe Holgate's thinking, hey, I'm losing too much time here. I need to get back past you.
Oh, absolutely. At this point in time, you can't think about staying in the draft. If you know you have a faster car, which we saw how strong Holgate's car is. I think his car is the strongest car on track. He's going to have to get around. Another interesting factor is how aggressive are you going to be if you're Terry Mattinson? Do you want to put Brandon a lap down? Right now, I don't see any benefit. He's able to save fuel now behind Brandon. No pressure from behind, so really, Terry's in the perfect spot right now.
He is, and so long as that gap keeps on going up, then I think that tail will be content to sit behind. There's another car who is going to go down a lap momentarily, and that is Kevin Crest, who is scored in the 21st position on the racetrack right now. He's actually going to go down 2 laps, so really not the day that Kevin Crest was after. Having a look down, you've actually got your top 13 guys separated by less than 10 seconds on the racetrack. Now McBride is struggling right now in 14th. He's 10 seconds behind your leader. Kerry Bettenhausen's had a difficult day, of course. His brother Todd is classified in 33rd and last position. And not a good day to date for Gary Borkenhagen or either. He's just been unlucky not being able to get a draft partner at all.
Yeah, you can get stuck back mid-pack, and there's just really not much you can do. Once you're mid-pack, no drafting partner, you're always getting left out on the restarts. You always get off on that island where the next car in front of you is 2 seconds, the car behind you is 2 seconds or more. You're right, there's just not much you can do in that situation.
So Crest goes down that lap, and it does look as though still Matinson is happy to sit behind Trost. Of course, that gap came down a little bit there because they worked themselves through traffic. As soon as Cook catches up to the rear of Kevin Crest, then he'll gain a little bit, but then, of course, as he has to pass him, he'll probably lose a couple of attempts there as well. Next guy to go down a lap, well, that'll be Niles Andys, who'll go down a 2nd lap in this race. Niles, I really do feel bad for him because he's come back and it really, that one small incident on pit road really hurt his race. He looked very good in the transfer race earlier today.
Looked very strong, very racy. His car really worked anywhere he really wanted to put it. Looks like he has just a little bit of side pod damage, which is affecting the top speed of that car, and there he goes down 2 laps right there. One interesting thing, looking forward, I know last season every time I mentioned green flag pit stops, a yellow happened, but Terry Matinson has a 1.5 second lead. If there is any track you can make that up in the pits, it's here.
Indeed, yeah, and of course we are now in that window that everyone just has to make one more pit stop. They'll be good to the end. Of course, all the strategists will be thinking about how much fuel they need to take for this final stop as well. And I think, you know, for Lambertson, if he can get a good pit stop and get himself back into the top 5, of course, what he needs is a caution right towards the end of the race. And they're almost 4 wide there down into turn number 3.
Holgate went to the inside, and now sometimes when you make a pass, you're the one going to get past. Courtney Terrell's going to go to the outside, and he might have a run. Can Holgate keep the bottom in 1?
And at the same time, Nefriag was able to get past John Porzik as well. So Arg up now into 5th position, and Courtney Terrell's looking down to the inside of the 6th car of Tim Holgate. Will Terrell be able to keep it on that inside line? The answer is going to be yes, because Kevin Crest is going to hold up a little bit there. Tim Holgate, they're going to be 3 wide as they come back down. It's turn number 1.
3 wide on the bottom.
Holgate a little bit wiggly there.
Oh, that was just a lack of confidence there by Holgate. 3 wide into turn 1 at this track. That car in the bottom almost always shoots up. Terrell did a great job keeping it down there, but Tim Holgate just, I think he might have been thinking big picture there. He might have been thinking points. If this was a one-off race, I'm sure he's going to keep his car in that position. I think he was thinking points right there.
I think so indeed, and he lost out. He has been able to get back past John Porzik, however, to move him back into the top 5. We've got someone smoking. That is Al Nagy. The track is still clear, so we will not get a caution. But Al Nagy doing a bit of a barbecue maneuver down there as Matinson is coming in for his final stop.
And going back to Nagy, it was a carbon copy of what took out Dave Judson. Identical thing got loose.
You see the replay up on your screen. By the way, Matinson, I say he is on pit road from the race leads, and Matt Cook is going to be classified as your race leader. Now, this is interesting.
Courtney Terrell 2nd.
Yeah, if Matt Cook and Courtney Terrell can work together and just build up a gap, they'll be able to minimize. And it's Courtney Terrell's going to go down to the inside. This is going to be the battle for the race lead. Courtney Terrell down to the inside into turn number 1. Will he be able to keep that? That car just works beautifully.
Wow.
Beautifully on that inside line.
Where did this come from? I know we said he was been working his way up front, but he just took the lead. Wow, I'm speechless.
The IMS Radio Productions car moves itself up into the 1st position in this race. Matt Cook finally got himself to the race lead again, and immediately he goes back down into 2nd position. Just to let you know, by the way, where Terry Matinson came back out on the racetrack, He is currently scored 1 lap down. He is currently scored. He's not really got any drafting partners around him. His pit in time was a 40.2, so it was a good pit in right there for Mattinson.
One thing, Courtney Terrell, he qualified 23rd, so he might be our biggest mover of the race. But yeah, Terry Mattinson pitted early. He wasn't on the Lamberton strategy. Why would he pit so early?
I'm a little bit confused about that actually, because you normally want to go as late as possible, just take fuel only, and then you'll be blistering fast twice at the end of the race. It looks as though that he's taken that alternate strategy. Maybe his car just wasn't handling properly. Maybe he wanted to get some change to his front wing or something. And it's weird though how he came in so early on.
I said, look at the way he was pulling ahead. Could he have maybe been playing a yellow strategy and just filled his car enough to get to the point where he could make it the rest of the way, perhaps?
Potentially, and I tell you what, Lambertson has just done a stonking pit in it there. That was a 39.483. That is amazingly quick. I'm just having a look. And he gets in and out. He doesn't get a penalty. And that was just picture perfect there for Matt Lambertson. And compare that to what he did earlier. He really was struggling on pit entry. So a good run there for Matt Lambertson. We've got a couple of other cars who are looking as though they're probably going to come in about, 3-4 laps time, we think now. As Nefri Ugg's involved in a great battle right now with Tim Holgate.
Typically at this point in time, we have about 18 laps to go. Typically at this point in time, the picture's set, the characters are in motion, the stage, we know what's going to happen. This race, anybody in the top 10 really can win this race, depending on how they get in and out. Lambertson did exactly what he needed. He's still behind Terry Mattinson, but it's going to come down to Terrell, Cook, Ogg, Holgate, Porzak. How are they going to get in and out? Can anybody else pull down one of those 39.4s or better, perhaps?
And Courtney Terrell you've got yourself now a huge opportunity for Terrell to bounce back. I talked about what happened to him at Indy last season. Matt Cook, of course, he can win it on his first time in the 16th Street Racing League. Nefri Ugg in third, of course, won this race last season. Tim Holgate, I don't think Holgate ever won a race last season, even though he came second in the championship.
I think every time he came close to winning, that character named Young O just happened to be in the race. He was second place.
Thank you. Put me right. Less than you probably in a from Cook. That's right. Kidding.
I'm pitting this time, Josh.
I'm pitting. Pitting. Pitting this time.
So we apologise about the sound issues you had there. As you see, pit stops are going on at the moment. Courtney Terrell has made his pit stop. Importantly, it does look as though he had himself a good one there.
Had himself a good one, and that's exactly what he needs, I think. Courtney Terrell, last year, always running mid-pack, had that great showing at Indy, but he has shown his strength here, and now Matt Cook is also on pit road, so we are about to see who is going to take control of this race.
Once again, we do apologise for the brief technical issues we had here in the commentary booth. Matt Cook, of course, is on pit road. He is going to get tyres late on into the race. That is interesting why he chose to take tyres. Keeping an eye out where Courtney Terrell is, of course. This is the main battle for the race lead. Terrell's working himself down towards turn 1. Of course, he's got, that is Nefriag ahead of him. Matt Cook is on the apron. It looks as though Nefriag is going to come back into the lead of this race, and it's going to be a big lead there for Nefri.
Wow. So is he going to be able to repeat as opening champion? He's got 9 laps to hang on, but we know how strong Courtney Terrell is.
So it is going to come down to Nefriag and Courtney Terrell in this race. Matt Cook, he is 0.6 of a second behind Courtney Terrell. Of course, if Cook can catch Terrell, he's still got to pass him and then get up to Nefriag. We've got a lapped car, and that is Brandon Trost right now, who is very slow. Nefriag is going to catch him momentarily, but Nefriag, he's got himself a 0.7 second of a gap right now, and he's got that draft to Brandon Trost ahead of him. That will give him another couple of tenths.
Once again, one driver's misfortune is another driver's gain. Having Trost in front of him that could be the winning. I know I said that with Mattinson, but that could be Nefri's winning move, as Courtney Terrell was gaining, but now I don't know if he's going to. But let's see, the gap's going to go from 0.63 to
0.68.
So half a tenth.
Half a tenth, and that is everything. Now, even if Terrell can catch at 1/10 of a lap, Nefriag has got this race closer and closer to being in the bag. Mattinson, that early pit stop cost him 2.5 seconds. He's in 5th. Holgate is right behind Matt Cook. He is in 4th right now. Cook in 3rd. Terrell 2nd. From nowhere, like last year, Nefri is in the lead of this race.
Unbelievable. Coming into that final pit stop, I think we were talking Terrell, Cook, Holgate. I don't think either of us mentioned Nefriag, but we should have. He showed us what he could do last year, and I don't know. It looks like Terrell now is closing. 0.62
he is closing
goes to 0.470. We're going to have a battle.
We're going to have a battle, but we've got, 5 laps left in this race. Terrell is also, let's not forget, got to make sure that Matt Cook stays behind him. It is going to be man on man, Nefriag and Courtney Terrell in the last 5 laps of this race. Either of these two, if they win, it's going to be a popular win. Of course, Nefri might just think, hey, I want to put Brandon Trost in between me and Terrell. That could be the race-winning move.
Absolutely, and if you're Brandon right now, I guess you still want to finish on the lead lap. Nefri really hasn't made a move. Courtney Terrell, it looks like Nefri's faster in 1 and 2, but watch Terrell's, I don't know, he's running just a slightly higher line. The momentum he gets off of 4, if it comes down to a drag race to the line, I really like Courtney Terrell if he can get there.
We've got less than 3 laps to go in this race, down into 1 and 2. To give you an update on guys out of the race, then Merritt, Judson, Crofno, Lee, McClure, Shute, Gareese, Branch, Davis, and Borgenhagen all out of this race. But there you see, Terrell has closed dramatically there in 3 and 4. And this is going to be the battle with 2 laps left to go in this race. And Terrell, you're right, he is so strong in 3 and 4.
And both of these drivers' hearts right now got to be pumping. They know to start the season off with the win would be amazing. As you said, both of these drivers, if they win, it's going to be a very popular win. I don't think anybody put too much stock in these 2 drivers battling it out for the win. Here they come, Will. White flag in the air.
1 more lap to go. 1.5 miles to go. And here comes Terrell down to the inside. And this is going to perhaps be the race-winning move on the final lap of the race. Terrell goes down to the inside. Nefriag has nothing for him. It looks like a Cook is right back there as well. Can Nefri pull something out in turn number 3 and 4? Matt Cook's on the outside of Nefriark. He will go past as well. Nefriark is out of fuel. Courtney Terrell is going to win the race. The first round of the 2013 16th Street Racing League. Terrell gets the win. Nefriark finishes 5th after he runs out of fuel.
Terry Mattinson just nipped him at the line, so that explains how Nefriark had such a good pit stop. Just needed a couple more drops of petrol to make it, but 5th place, wow, what a race. If this race is a sign of things to come, this season's going to be a good one, Will.
What a race. Courtney Terrell, great there. On the last couple of laps, he had to make the move, and now I think about it again, perhaps it was just the fact that Nefri had to save fuel behind as the donuts come into play there for the IMS Productions car for Courtney Terrell. I think Nefri had to sit behind Troche just to save a bit of fuel. And let's not forget Courtney Terrell as a person. He does race directing for IMS Productions. If you guys watched the 2013 Indy Lights race and saw that 4-wide finish, Courtney Terrell is the guy who did the directing for that.
You're still running the computer I built you.
Very popular win there. As I said, he's a driver that always keeps his nose clean. He's I would say one of the cleaner drivers out there from what I've seen last year.
Kevin,
just
running out of fuel.
wow, what a win.
But,
unfortunate for Nefri to run out of gas, but still starting the season off 5th. Great start for him. Other finishers, Paul Jenkins, a very strong 8th place finish, and Joshua Chen after that penalty, 10th, and Lambertson with that, something must have happened. He had that amazing pit in, but unfortunately he's going to come home 11th.
Well, that is amazing. Courtney Terrell, he qualified this race in the 23rd position, and he wins. We'll run through your race results. Courtney Terrell by a quarter of a second over Matt Cook. Tim Holgate 3rd. Terry Mattinson 4th. Nefriark rounds out your top 5. John Porzik in 6th. Martin Miller 7th. Paul Jenkins in 8th. Matt Kingsbury 9th. Joshua Chin rounds out your top 10. Then Matt Lambertson 11th. Brian Simpson in 12th. Now McBride in 13th, Chris Cahoe 14th, Kerry Bettenhausen 15th, and Brandon Trost, the last guy on the lead lap, in 16th. The rest of the results coming up on your screen momentarily. Drive the race is simple here. Courtney Terrell.
Absolutely. I know last season you always ask me this, and I always waffled with this driver or that driver, but absolutely, no doubt about it. Courtney Terrell, qualified 23rd, comes and wins this race. What a drive. This is just like last year's race talking about Nefriark. Next season, we're going to be talking about Courtney Terrell's drive to the win tonight.
That is a great run there for Courtney. And a couple of other drivers as well. Let's not forget Nefriark. He had a great run here as well. Tim Holgate, great run by him. Mattinson, a little bit unlucky with that final stop. Matt Cook, a great race by him as well.
Great finish by Matt Cook. Couple more laps, we may be talking about him as the race winner, but in racing you can always talk about woulda, coulda, shouldas. If this race was 124 laps, we would be saying Nefriark was our race winner. As I do believe we will have interviews coming up with our top finishers coming up momentarily.
Well, that was entertaining up and down. A couple of guys have been really unlucky in this race, though, Aaron.
Oh, absolutely. Josh Chin, black flag, middle of the race, never could rebound. Obviously, Brandon Trost, I think he might have been able to compete for the race win. Don't know what happened. Have to think it was a black flag. Finished on the lead lap, though. Good showing us his first start in the 16th Street League. Chris Cahoe never really could get anything really going. And Gary Borkenhagen, well, we said he was mid-pack, but now I notice he is 30 laps down, 23rd. He had a lot of good runs last year, but you're right. This was a tale of two races. Either this race came to you, or if we saw Chin, Lambertson, Trost, just unfortunate events set them back. I mean, Lambertson, if that yellow flag didn't come out early, he might have had the strongest car, but when you stay out and everybody pits, what can you do?
What can you do indeed? We've got a couple of drivers we are going to try and talk to before the end of our broadcast here. Of course, though, next week we go to a road course, and so a couple of these guys, it's completely different for them.
That's the fun. That's the beauty of this league. Right? 1 week you're going to have drivers up front that are oval specialists. Next week, the road specialists are going to shine out. So the finishing order this week most certainly will not be the finishing order of next week. We'll have a whole new cast of characters up front. And that's what makes this so great. You have the drivers that are good on the ovals, the drivers that are good on the road courses, and the overall championship with each. Well, it's just going to be fun to watch. What can I say?
As I say, we're going to talk ourselves to a couple of drivers. First of all, the guy who looks with 2 laps to go, who was going to win this race. Unfortunately, they didn't put enough fuel in his car. 04 car, Nefriarg. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm not bad, Will. I tell you what, heck of a race out there today. If you'd have talked to me this time yesterday and told me I'd even get a sniff of the top 5, I'd have told you you were crazy. But yeah, man. Came up a gallon short. I knew I had to take it. For me, I'm balls out. You know me. I'm going for the win or I'm putting in the fence. And I knew the only way I was going to get ahead of Matt Cook and Holgate and Courtney and all those guys was to just cut it as close as I could. But you know me, I'm not the smartest tool in the shed, man, and just came up a little short.
Well, mine too.
Came up a little short. I mean, were you physically thinking that you were going to be a tiny bit short when you were sat behind Brandon Trost at the end of that race?
Yeah, well, that was the thing is I knew, the pit in here at Homestead is as difficult a pit in as we have. So you really got to focus on nailing that pit in first off if you want to keep up with these top guys, and then second you try and do the math in your head. And boy, I knew right when I got out of pit out and I saw how far ahead I was that I was short. And man, I thought it was I thought I lucked out when Trost got in front of me, and I was the whole stint. Half throttle, trying to save as much as I could, and man, came up a couple hundred yards short.
Well, congratulations on coming 5th anyway. Great result by you. Anyone you want to say thank you to? And also, are you disappointed that you don't get to see the Fuzzy Girls?
Well, I'm so close with a couple of those girls. They don't mind if I'm top 5. I think they might be coming over the hotel anyway. But no, for me, it's all about this Panther Racing National Guard team. I mean, Niles Anders, we got him out of retirement. I wouldn't want to know how many laps he and Tim Holgate did the last 2 weeks getting us ready for this race, and had a long way to catch up. And man, this whole team's a hell of a lot of fun to run with, and this whole league, the talent's amazing, and I'm certainly looking forward to the rest of the year.
Keep up to the pack.
Well, congratulations, top 5 there for Nefriarg in that 04 Panther Racing machine. Let's move up a little bit. Matt Cook, second. You were close, couldn't quite get the win.
Runs up to the back of the pack.
No, I was just a little bit short coming out of the pit. I actually made a big mistake when I went into the pits. I forgot to take off the tires. So I ended up being stuck in the pits for about a second longer than I wanted to be, and that made me bite the bullet ultimately.
What we really need to do is just
made you bite the bullet. Of course, you did have fresh rubber at the end of that race, but it was a fascinating battle with yourself, Courtney, and Nefri. But you've kind of been there thereabouts all race long, running, in the kind of top 5 the entire race. How difficult was it in that front group?
The initial start of the race, there was a lot of drivers that had a setup that was completely designed on breaking away from the pack, and with that, they sacrificed their maneuverability in the actual draft conditions that could happen. However, if they could keep in clean air, they could pull away from us. Myself and Martin Miller were really struggling to hang on to them as long as we did. I was surprised on how long Martin stayed there. There was a lot of great talent racing in that race. Tim Holgate, I was having a lot of trouble actually maintaining pace with him and making sure that I was running good lines while also keeping an eye on seeing what he was doing.
And that second place in your first appearance in the 16th Street Racing League got to kind of fill you up with a little bit of hope. But of course, next week, you've got to try driving right and left.
Yes, I do. Road racing isn't exactly my strong point. I haven't really put a considerable amount of time into doing it, but I'm excited about it. I'm willing to learn, and I'm getting ready for it next week, and hopefully I'll be able to finish decently.
Matt Cook coming home in the second position in the race. The guy in third, Tim Holgate. Tim, again, you've kind of been thereabouts since the drop of the green flag here today, and that number 6 car looks very strong.
Well, we certainly felt good. I mean, first, let me say it's great to be back racing with the league. It's good to be here speaking with you again, Will. I want to thank the administrators of the 16th Street Racing League for setting us up for another year. I've been chomping at the bit to get behind the wheel, and we're finally doing it. We had a great showing here in the Abodua car, finishing third. Wanted to finish a little bit farther up. Had a little minor mistake in the pits. So that cost me just enough time to get stuck behind a couple guys, and it's very difficult to pass drivers like Matt and Courtney, and it was just a lot of fun racing out there wheel to wheel with those guys.
Now, of course, you're one of these drivers that last season was consistent on both the road courses and the oval. With a good finish on your belt here, going to a road course next week, you've kind of got to be licking your chops a little bit now. That you've got a chance to potentially go for this championship.
That's definitely the goal here. Certainly, we were disappointed with even though we finished in second last season, I was still disappointed with how far back I was from first. Young basically dominated the entire season, and we didn't see him in this first race. I don't know if he's not able to run this season or if we're going to be seeing him, but if we're not going to have a dominating presence like that, I think the whole championship is wide open for several drivers who are both on roads and ovals.
Well, of course, next week we do go to Sebring, but a good result here today. You looking forward to going to Sebring in a week?
Oh, it knocks some fillings out. There's a lot of bumps at that track, but I'm really looking forward to having the first road course of the season. I wasn't really happy with my performance on the road courses last season, even though they were decent. They were nowhere near up to my full potential. So I'm looking to really pin those down this season and get a lot of podium finishes there.
Well, Tim Holgate coming home in the third position. We've got a couple of minutes left, so we've got the chance to talk to a couple more drivers. We'll talk to Joshua Chin first. Josh, you had a bit of an up and down race here today, haven't you?
Yeah, it was a pretty long race. It started off pretty nicely, and I think had I not made that speeding error, I probably could have had a shot there at the end, but I just made a mistake on pit road, and it was all digging back from there, and I thought I maybe had a shot once we got that yellow in the middle of the run, but was never able to get back up with the leaders and just got stuck there.
Now, how hard has it been to pit at this racetrack? I talked in the broadcast tonight. It's one of the more difficult racetracks to pit, of course, because you've got to kind of break down to 45 miles an hour while the car's turning, everything locking up and it doesn't want to do. But just how difficult was it to hit that pit road today?
Oh, it was definitely difficult, especially the first time. I hadn't really practiced pitting this week, and that was a huge mistake because the first time I didn't know where to brake, and I about slammed into the pit wall, and Martin behind me almost did the same thing, and we both caught ourselves out on that pretty hard.
And again, you're another one of these drivers who would really look forward to the road courses as well as the ovals. Of course, you're accomplished in both. So are you looking forward to the trip to Sebring next week?
Oh yeah, love the place. Home track, it's an awesome track. It's interesting in an Indy car because you kind of feel like a squid on ice.
Well, we will see you in 1 week time at Sebring, and that kind of just leaves me with the guy who deserted us, Aaron, from the broadcast booth, Mr. Paul Jenkins. But you came home 8th, so I'll let you off.
Oh boy, there's an introduction. Hey, Aaron, it's great to see you back in the booth, man, and Will, the smash-up job as usual. And yeah, 8th place, I can't complain. I think we set out to accomplish what I set out to accomplish, and that didn't make sense. I accomplished what I set out to accomplish, and that was to drive safe, drive clean. We had a real solid day, really good pit stops. I think I did pretty much as well as I could. Did my best to hold off Martin there at the end, but he's just too fast for me. So I'll take the 8th, get over to Sebring, see if I can't at least try and make a reasonable showing there and just press on.
Well, we're actually saying in the broadcast that you actually had the fastest pit stop of the race, so well done on that. In that 23 car, so seems like they've learned from someone on pitting, at least at Homestead. But I mean, how was that car overall, that number 23 Aero X racing car?
So I missed the last part of that question, Will, but hey, it felt like, like the car, we set the car up for maneuverability over raw speed, and I think Matt kind of alluded to this a little bit. There were two different trains of thought between the different teams here. The Aero X bunch, we kind of decided to go with a little bit more maneuverability, and our top speed kind of suffered when we were not in the draft. Matt was able to hang with them all day. I kind of started getting a little far behind. But the advantage to us was we could really just kind of haul the car anywhere we wanted around on the track. So all of us had pretty safe days for the most part, and managed to stay out of trouble. So I think it was a good decision overall. Matt really certainly had a great showing. Terry also, John and Martin. So we really did what we set out to do. But there were some really fast guys that I'm surprised ended up behind me. Chris Cahill, Matt Lambertson. Both really fast drivers. I mean, Lambertson and I were having a battle there for a little while, but his off-pit strategy just didn't work out for him. He just couldn't get the yellows to fall his way.
Final question. You looking forward to turning right next week?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I'm not the best at road courses either, but again, the goal is just to try and be safe, try to keep it out of trouble, and just come home with a reasonable finish.
Well done, Paul. 8th position for you. Aaron, final thoughts. First of all, I completely trumped you in the how many cautions will this race have award.
Yes, you did. You had to bring that up. But final thoughts, if this race is anything to see, this championship is wide open. I don't know how many different leaders we had, but at the end of the race, 10 different drivers could have won this race. Moving forward, looking through the season, this is just going to be so much fun to watch. Tonight's race, we had no idea with 15 laps to go who even was going to be in the position to win. So, well, I'm looking forward to Sebring next week, go to a road course, and moving forward, it's going to be a great year. That's all I know. Great year coming up.
Your top 5 one more time. Courtney Tell from Matt Cook, from Tim Holgate, from Terry Mattinson, from Nefri Arg. Fastest lap in the race, that was Joshua Cheney, 25.049. We had a total of 2 cautions for 8 laps, and we had 9 different lead changes. Next week, we head over to Florida. We head over to Sebring, and that is going to be a fascinating race there. Of course, the first race of the season was also in Florida, so I don't know why I said we're going to Florida, but hey, almost a faultless broadcast. For myself, Will Vincent, from Aaron Likens, we'll see you same time, same place here on iRacing Brazil. Don't forget, keep up with the series on Facebook as well. You can do that by searching for 16th Street Racing League. This has been round number 1 of the 16th Street Racing League. The Oval Championship is brought to you by iRaceForLife.org. Until next time, we'll see you a little bit later on. Bye-bye.
All the best to everybody at iRacing Brazil.
Simona Silvestro, and I hope all the iRacers in Brazil are having a lot of fun on iRacing.
Hi, I'm Justin Wilson. Want to say hello to all the iRacers down in Brazil. Hope you have fun. Enjoy the racing. Take it easy.
Hey, I'm Wyatt Gooden, and iRacing Brazil, awesome league. You guys are great. Cool league.
Quero mandar abraço aí pro pessoal do iRacing Brasil. Continue jogando aí.
Aí galera, eu sou o Hélio Casso Neves. Fique ligado no iRacing Brasil. Vamos lá, Brasil.
Vamos lá.